Was the purchase of a half-finished supply ship with a speed of 15.5 knots at a cost of 150 million yuan a strategic foresight, or a desperate choice in the 1990s, when the Chinese Navy's seagoing capability was virtually nil? In 1992, when the Chinese naval delegation stood in front of the unfinished Komandram Fedko-class ship in the bone-chilling winds of the Kherson shipyard in Ukraine, there were cold and slippery steel plates under their feet, and in front of their eyes was a huge and silent steel shell. The main engine and generators were exposed to the air, complex pipes and cables had not yet been laid, and the huge ship was not yet ready to be completed, cables yet to be laid, and the interior of the huge hull so empty that the echo of footsteps could be heard. The rusty hull silently tells the helplessness and desolation after the collapse of the Red Empire. At that time, the situation in the South China Sea, just as the weather in the north is generally cloudy, Vietnam, the Philippines and other countries are stepping up the occupation of my Spratly Islands and reefs. The Chinese Navy, the main ships are still thousands of tons of destroyers. The farthest trails stop in the Western Pacific. Ocean supply capability is nearly empty. Weak 905 type supply ship tonnage is small, slow speed, high sea conditions under the protection of the ability to be stretched. The domestic technical reserves cannot support independent research and development. The Soviet Union originally planned for the huge carrier fleet supporting the construction of 37,000 tons of supply ships. Because of the sudden dissolution of the empire abruptly stopped, was financially distressed Ukraine as unfinished oil tankers, listed for sale. Faced with this huge but crippled steel shell, China finally bought it for 150 million yuan. A sum that even exceeded that of the Varyag aircraft carrier under negotiation at the same time. The next 3 years were years of hard work for the engineers at Dalian shipyard. The complexity of this steel shell was far beyond imagination. Soviet design drawings have long been scattered incomplete. The engineers were faced with a pile of cold metal composed of a huge puzzle. They not only had to repair its basic function as an oil and water supply ship, but also had the arduous task of transforming it into a comprehensive supply ship. Countless days and nights of research, testing, hardened this semi-finished products into a strong life. 1996 May 8, Qinghai Lake officially joined the People's Navy sequence. Its 37,000 tons of full load displacement, 23,000 tons of material loading capacity, instantly refreshed the Chinese Navy ship tonnage record. The creative transformation by Chinese engineers was especially crucial. On the skeleton of the original Soviet oil and water supply ship, the Chinese side successfully implanted the dry cargo and ammunition replenishment function, added horizontal liquid cargo station, dry cargo station and the crucial vertical replenishment station, configured 4 vertical replenishment points in a retractable hangar, so that it could carry 2 helicopters for 3-dimensional replenishment. Its automation level has reached a high level that was difficult to reach by domestic technology at that time. Only 125 crew members are needed for the ship to operate efficiently, which is 476 less than that of the same class of ship in the United States. The ship is equipped with 46 sets of automation systems, especially the original, 4-cylinder tension compensation device, can ensure that the supply steel cable constant force taut in the waves, greatly enhancing the safety and efficiency of the supply operation. For the Chinese Navy in the harsh sea conditions under the sustained combat capability has laid the cornerstone. However, the skepticism of military fans has always focused on its maximum speed of only 16 knots, a speed that is indeed unable to match the high speed maneuvering needs of modern carrier formations of more than 20 knots. But critics often overlook a fundamental logic. The core mission of the supply ship is not to charge into battle when the fleet needs to go to the Indian Ocean or the Pacific Ocean to carry out the task. The Qinghai Lake, with its huge range and loading capacity, can leave a few days in advance and arrive at the scheduled replenishment area, waiting for the fleet to arrive and efficiently complete the mission of the Sea Mobile Refueling Station to return to the sea, without the need to follow the entire high-speed formation of high-intensity maneuvering. In the 1990s, the South China Sea rights defense action is the most tight, the most critical moment. It is this slow ship, with its irreplaceable strategic value, became a key pivot to reverse the regional situation. Its huge loading capacity of 23,000 tons, like a floating giant warehouse, so that China's fleet can be long-term, high-intensity cruising in the vast South China Sea, the illegal occupation of my islands and reefs of Vietnam, the Philippines and other countries to form a sustained and powerful military presence and strategic deterrence. Its huge mountain-like hull itself, and even by the opponent as a moving, great wall of the sea, the psychological oppression effect, sometimes far better than the direct deterrent artillery. The historical merit of the Qinghai Lake is far more than the South China Sea rights defense this corner of the place. It is the Chinese Navy to the deep blue, to achieve a historic breakthrough in the strong backing. 1997, it is the core security force, supporting the Chinese naval fleet to complete the epic-making first round-the-world voyage, the total range of more than 130,000 nautical miles, footprints all over the world, 12 countries, to the world to show the Chinese Navy's growing ability to the oceans. In the crucial Dongfeng missile test warhead salvage mission, it broke the shackles of the Yellow Water Navy and turned ocean-going security from theory into reality, ensuring the success of the country's major strategic tests. Especially critical is that on the deck of this huge ship, the Chinese Navy has developed the first truly specialized ocean supply operation team. Officers and soldiers in this Sea University, from scratch, in practice, and constantly explore, improve, standardize horizontal, vertical three-dimensional supply of complex processes and operational norms. These waves in the sweat and even blood condensed into a valuable experience and talent reserves, directly catalyzed the subsequent domestic large-scale integrated supply ship leapfrog development. 903 Type Integrated Supply Ship Chief Designer Wang Wind is the main introduction of the core of one of the pusher of the Qinghai Lake. The ship's practical experience has become a domestically produced the most profound mark on the design drawings of the up-and-coming supply ship. These insights, like precious gene fragments, are deeply implanted in the subsequent domestic supply ship design blood. 903 Type Comprehensive Supply Ship in the continuation of the reasonable overall layout of the Qinghai Lake. At the same time, the success of the speed to 19 knots more in line with modern needs, and the more advanced 901 Type Helunhu is a breakthrough of 50,000 tons of platform, and its speed of the ship will be reduced to 10,000 tons. The more advanced 901 Helunhu has broken through the 50,000-ton platform. As for the speed of the chronic problem, the root of which is the structural dilemma buried in the original design of the Soviet Union, the fragile power layout of a single main engine driving a single propeller means that once the core power is damaged, the entire ship will be completely paralyzed and lose the ability to maneuver. To completely replace it with a more powerful and reliable twin-engine, twin-propeller system would require a large-scale cut and rebuild of the ship's main structure, which would be a huge and costly project, almost equivalent to building a new large ship. In the 90s, when military spending was extremely tight and all industries were still emerging, such investment was obviously a burden that the country could not bear, and it also went against the original intention of introducing this ship to solve the pressing problem and obtain core technology at the same time. Now, when the Qinghai Lake with a full body of glory and the mark of the wind and waves slowly retired from the second line, a new generation of 901 Type comprehensive supply ship is at a high speed of 25 knots, cutting waves, accompanied by China's aircraft carriers riding in the vast ocean. The number of Chinese Navy's comprehensive ocean-going supply ships has also jumped from only a few at the beginning of the century to a powerful lineup of more than 20 ships. Looking back to 1993 in the Ukrainian shipyard to make, full of controversy but incomparable decisive choice, spend 150 million yuan to buy the silent steel shell in exchange for, is not just 37,000 tons of cold metal. It is more like a heavy but incredibly tough key hardened in the darkest moment, opening the heavy door to the deep blue ocean for the Chinese Navy.